Okay, now it's working. Okay, today we are going to quick riff on the perception behind why people hurt other people and understanding it. Because the closest people in our lives are the ones that cause us the most pain, but if you have an understanding of where they're coming from, it, I don't know, definitely enhances life.
It does, and it makes it less personal, which that's a hard concept. I know that's a hard concept, especially whenever you're getting out of, you're starting your healing journey outside of your trauma. A lot of us are going through a big awakening right now.
It's mass.
It is. Like, I'm meeting people every day that are like waking up and talking about their trauma, and that's a beautiful thing because other generations, we talked about this, I believe, in the last video.
Probably.
Other generations didn't talk about it. We're the generation that is talking about it.
And I find people all the time that I'm surprised, even, I
Yeah.
never mean to profile, but there's sometimes people just come out of the woodworks and you're like, wow, really, you're on a spiritual journey
Yeah.
too. It really is people from all walks of life, all over the place.
It's not just the people that look like hippies.
Yeah.
It's all of us. Which is a hard thing to break because back in the day, it's like, they're like those darn hippies, and we still are darn hippies. But, all of us, like, we are all connected. We are all going through this. But yeah, so one of the big lines for me that I figured out was hurt people hurt people. I don't know where I heard it from, but I've pondered that quite a bit past couple years, and I realized I was hurting people too.
It's a defense mechanism.
Yes. So with that
Especially with closer relationships, you tend to find that maybe you're used to things being a certain way, maybe things need to be adjusted, maybe something comes up and people don't know how to handle things. It can come from anywhere, like somebody goes through something, they put their pain on you because they know that you can bear it. And there's not always an apology or, a makeup for that, and sometimes those things cause permanent damage. So the way that we can learn our way around that affecting us on more of a permanent level or creating more future troubles, I don't want to continuously overuse the word trauma, but that's a real thing, is to have a good understanding of it, to put yourself in perspective. From their point of view, what's going on with them and why they have to react in the way that they do, because not all of us are going through a spiritual journey, whether or not we think we are to a certain point. I have conversations all the time with people that are like, talking to me about being an empath, and I'm just like, everybody has that attunement possibility, but just because you understand on a deep level or you feel things on a deep level doesn't necessarily categorize you in one direction or the other.
A lot of times that can be projection too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know what you're going through. You may know similarities of it, but you do not know the extent of what somebody else is going through because it's their own personal experience.
Which is why it's important not to compare your story to somebody else's story or be one of those one-uppers on a constant basis, because I see a lot of that too. And usually I'm just like, oh, man, that's cool.
Sometimes neurodivergent people, though, can also use that as a way of connecting to others. So you tell them about something, and then they are trying to relate to you in that way with their story that is similar. So
perception, just more of a closed-minded form of it because they're not always taking in yours a lot of times.
A lot of times, some people can't. Especially when neurodivergence comes in. I have periods of time with it too, but I don't know. It's another way of understanding other people.
Absolutely. So it's pain and trauma from their past that they're using to try to be relatable, but not necessarily in a direction of growth.
Yeah, and it can also feel a bit invalidating at times too.
Most definitely.
Whenever they're like, yeah, this is what I went through, when really in that moment you may need somebody who's listening to you, and you need somebody, a friend or a loved one, to hear you out.
Right, and just listen, not necessarily put in their 2 cents or this is what you should do, this is how you should handle it. I struggle with that a lot of times because you want to help the people you love and care about, but sometimes being too much, too helpful is overbearing when really they just need to release. Now you're putting more on them by being,
that goes into people pleasing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Because then, especially if you're more of a timid person or go with the flow type person, you tend to, just allow them to just pile all that crap on top of you. And that's where you get stacked stressors and just become, Even worse. Yeah.
Absolutely. But hurt people hurt people. And so there are two people in this situation. Okay, we'll use Christopher and I.
Well, the name
as
of the
an
channel is
example.
called Chris and Sis.
Christopher and I as an example. So here I am, I'm hurting. And with that, I am projecting onto you a hurt that I am feeling that may not actually be happening in this moment. That goes into another category. Time is not linear. So even though I am 27, am I in my brain? At times I am not, because I am thrown back into time to my younger self when I'm going through that trauma. So I may be sitting here 15 and projecting something that happened to me at 15 onto Chris. And what would Chris do in this situation? What would you do if I am over here and I'm placing hurt on you?
I, in that case, would probably just have soaked it all up in that situation and allowed it to become my problem and assumed that I did something wrong and allowed that to create me more problems, because I was always the type to beat up on myself and just take everything onto my shoulders. I bear the burdens of the world at age 15. And still, even at 30, I'm ridding myself of that, but that's just, mindfulness.
So there is a transfer of hurt that just went on to Christopher. And with that, there are a couple things he could do with that. One, he could sit there and he could take everything that I just placed on him and he could take it personal and soak that in. Or two, he could look at me and understand that I am in a different headspace right now and could ask me, like,
what it is you're struggling with, what it is you're going through, in which case it's up to you to, I am going to say to a point, use your adult emotions and your understanding of your emotions and be vulnerable and allow yourself to let go of what it is and allow somebody to help you access that part of yourself, or stay closed off to the world, in which case you're going to continue offering this pain, which eventually becomes toxic. Whether you mask it or you don't mask it, you can't always just walk through life pretending like there's not a problem.
So there's an understanding here that, one, I am going through trauma right now. I am going on an old active trauma behavior is what I am presenting. So in these moments, in our last video, we talked a lot about finding your power. In these moments, and as you're growing and healing from your trauma, it's finding your power and knowing that even though this person is placing hurt on me or triggering me in some way, you have power and you have the ability to take care of yourself in that moment because you have control.
I know this pain is here and I know you are going through this, and I understand that it's easier for you to push it onto me, but it is not mine to carry. I will help you carry it for a period of time while you attempt to figure out exactly what it is wrong within you. But at the point that it turns toxic,
you have to protect yourself and do what you can do as a person.
Which also pains me, but being somebody that's understanding of the emotions that I'm going through and recognizing them, I will grow through that hurt pretty quickly because I have an understanding of how to do it.
Absolutely.
It just sucks sometimes when you end up in those situations.
And sometimes, like, people, like, it's not like, oh, the next day they should be over it. It takes people a long time to process a lot of hurt that they've been holding on to for a lot of years.
You go through the same cycle over and over again until you learn the lesson that you're supposed to learn from it. And a lot of times that has to do with situations that you end up in and even with people close in your life.
But each time you go through it, each time you're going through that cycle, you'll learn something deeper about it. And that's the beautiful thing about growth.
Growth is the purpose.
Yes.
Fully believe.
Because we're all like, our souls want to be blissful beings. We don't want to be hurt. We don't want to be sitting in it. We want to be happy. We want to be blissful. We want to experience this beautiful earth that we're on. But a lot of us have been through some really hard stuff. And there are more moments of it. Like, really, when you're on this journey, and you guys have seen how we've been on this channel a year now. Look at us. Going back into our earlier videos, We should do that sometime.
Absolutely.
See where we were at compared to where we're at now.
We're not the same people.
No.
In a positive way, in a lot
Yeah.
of ways, I fully believe.
But I still love and accept the person that I was, because she was growing and she was trying and she was hurting, but she was still good.
Still to this point, kind of definitely on subject still,
Yes.
I have still and always have had a struggle with letting go of unresolved things that may
Yeah.
never have potential resolution, and I've always struggled with that because I'm a problem solver by nature. It's really difficult for me to be in any situation where I can't find a way out of it,
Yeah.
because I want growth from every experience, from every situation, from every single person, and I want others to find that too.
Yeah.
The part that I have trouble with, not necessarily saying, people do have a choice as to whether they're going to handle and deal with their emotions or push them aside. Whether you grow from it or you just pretend it's not there. That's definitely my biggest struggle, because at the same time as I want to help them and learn from it myself, I feel like in a way it also stunts my growth being in that situation. But that's its own learning experience. That's just something that I still have yet to ever be able to work through.
That's actually something I went through recently. I had a hard situation happen and I had to ask myself, I was receiving energy healing treatments too, and I stopped the treatment in the middle of it because I could not allow anything else to access my energy at that time, because I felt like I didn't know where I was and I felt attacked in the situation I was going through. So I had to ask myself, I sat by myself, watched the river, and I asked myself, do you want to hold on to this or do you want to let it go? Do you want to heal or do you want to hold on to it? And in that moment, that time by myself, I chose that I wanted to heal it. Because another thing is, when you hold on to it, that is creating trauma. That is not working through your feelings.
Yes.
That is making a choice to hold on. So as soon as I chose to let it go and to move on from it and to heal from it, I felt that. I felt that shift in my life. I felt my mindset come back, and I continued on my journey. And what happened after that? The understanding that I could not access while I was going through that hurt. Because I was hurting so deeply, I could not put myself where other people were in the situation that I was going through with them. So I took weeks to reflect on it too. And here I am. 3 weeks ago, I was not the same person I am today. That was hard. One of the hardest things I've been through in a long time. But I love them. I accept them. I see where they were at when they were hurting. And I see where I was at when I was hurting. And it's nobody's fault. It's no one to blame. It's just, it is what it was. And here we are growing from it.
People are who they are, and some people never change.
Yes.
And that's okay.
And that's the other thing is, in order to have healthy relationships in that sense too, the other person has to choose to grow as well and to be understanding as well. Because that is a cohesive relationship. You are giving and getting from it.
Yes.
You're not, you're both owning up to the things that you did wrong, because none of us are always ever right. We always, we do wrong things. That's the ego talking half the time.
You have to be okay with people doing wrong things, and I can't stress it enough at all that if you're going to have a relationship with anybody in this life to where you are both expecting growth from yourself, if you're a person that expects growth from yourself, you have to have that growing relationship with whomever it may be.
Yes. Especially with yourself.
Yeah.
That's it. You can't shame and you can't guilt yourself. And if you do, read the book Daring Greatly already. I've told you people 3 to 5 times. It's a great book, and it's all about shame and guilt. And I'm telling you, my life has changed since I read that book. Shame and guilt are not emotions. They are like counterparts to them. It's something that we have made. It's not something that is normal to our human bodies. A lot of us were raised to shame ourselves and guilt ourselves or guilt other people. And it's just, those things are not healthy, and they are not going to bring you anywhere on your healing journey other than in pain. And I say that with just truth.
and be accountable. Find your own power, find your strength, and make sure that nobody rocks your boat.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Bye.
Ah! There's a pin. As always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for watching,
Yes.
and we're always happy to hear your opinions on these things.
Absolutely.
Just pick up this magic pen stick that I definitely may or may not have dropped.
Yeah.
And until next time, much love,
Yep.
guys.
Much love. Bye.